Okay, Potter's Journal. We're not making pottery today, but wreaths. Large, 47/48 inch. I'll do a 3-card video. Here in the first one, we will gather the greens, and then second part, make the wreath, and then in part 3, finish it, decorate it, and deliver. Okay. Okay, I do want to make sure I have enough of the nice tips on this concolor fir to finish out the large wreaths for this church order. And I will come back and get the smaller pieces maybe and make a few small pieces at the very end of the season here. And yeah, so the concolor fir, okay, a little bit different and a more exotic look for, we'll say, the eastern part of the United States. They would know this well on the West Coast. In fact, if you watch old or new TV movies or TV shows, this is the tree that you're most likely to see. I cut my branches to size in the field and then put them in crates. Hopefully I can catch good weather days in the fall to do that. And because for the 4 large ones here for one church, I want them all to look good and the same. And the greens can be different from one side of the tree to the other, from the top and the bottom. So what I'll do is I will work out of all 3 crates at one time to try to create a consistent face. Most of the wreaths I make are on a 12-inch frame. But yeah, once again, this is the 24-inch frame, and I do make these extra heavy, and it is a double rail. And this is called a wreath machine, but yeah, it doesn't do anything. I do all the work. It closes the clamp on the greens when I put them in there, and the foot pedal is operated with a foot. So yeah, no, not a wreath machine, just a couple levers that you can close a clamp with. So starting out, I always yeah, need to finish the way I start. So you can't be heavy on one side and light on the other, and then figuring out what the greens are like today. There's always something. So, you know, how many branches do I need? Do I need 4 or 5 or more? I will catch the branches, and then I've seen other wreath makers make little teeny bunches like this, and then stick them in there in just one clip. So it's a very small, narrow. I'm using pieces that are maybe about 10 or 12 inches wide, and they are sticking out to the side, so it'll make a wreath that's quite a good bit larger than the frame here. And because they're large branches, they need to be held firm and secure, so I also hook them in 2 clamps. And the first one I'm only closing part way, because when I work the whole way around, I'll need to put that last bunch underneath this first one. Okay, so there are approximately about 4 branches in there. Okay, and then, yeah, grabbing branches. It always happens like this. They're not always consistent the whole way around. And I just picked up 4 that had branches only to one side. So that's why if, you know, I pick things up and throw them aside, that's what's going on. Trying to get a consistent bunch. But they can also be not necessarily stacked on top of each other, but they can sometimes be fanned one to one side and one to the other to get it to look full. And okay, and this time and the rest of the way, and my bench is not used to this weight. It's used to the, smaller. So, I may have to get some weight on the bench yet here. And then too, sometimes rather than making bunches, the branches can also be placed in here one at a time, so that you get a small one to fill out the middle. Make sure you hide the clamp from sight and visibility. Make sure that you fill out in both directions, the other direction too, and then a very nice branch that will give it a face. Sometimes greens are trees growing out in the middle of the field, and in maybe too good a soil. Get a branch that's a lot of growth, that's real big and spiky. It's sometimes better if they're grown a little slower and more thrifty. The branches come out fuller and thicker. Sometimes too, the ones at the edge of the woods are good because they get a light amount of shade. However, then you have to pull any leaves that fell from the trees out of them as you go, so that if you're doing a large amount of production wreaths, takes into the time of it. Oh, great. And it is cold in here to keep the wreaths and the greens fresh and not to dry them out. I see that I brought the crates in last night, and it wasn't warm enough to melt all the ice. We still have a little bit of ice to deal with here. Oh, great. As we get further down into the crate, there is more and more ice on these branches. Oh, we can knock it off a little bit, but eventually it soaks into my gloves. That always adds to the festiveness of the season. Yeah, I could probably save a little time if I did sort through these ahead and pull out, some of the facing branches. Making on the large size here 4 of these, not and in a total, 200 and not thousands. The decorating I like to keep fairly simple. I'm a Christmas tree farm grower. I grew the greens. That's the beauty of it. When you over decorate the wreath, you're hiding the greens. Groups of cones, maybe 3 cones. The berries. If somebody wants decorative floral picks, a pair of those or 3. But too much and you're hiding the beauty of the wreath. Okay, and this is where, we have 2 more clips. I've got to reach and one hand under here to separate, so that I can place the branches in there, and it will take a little more time because I've only got one hand here available. Okay, yes, that's where I took to actually leaving off the decorations completely. No cones, no berries. In a church on a large wall, you didn't see any of that anyway. The volunteer lady who hung it asked if I would put lights on it, and that was something I wasn't going to do because they could burn out, or the string could go bad in mid season, so I wasn't going to be responsible for that. But took to putting 3 bows on it, since bows only come so large. And then since I found out the large wreath was lost in the church, hung the tails on. I will do that before the end of the clip. Okay, and I was going through here, if you saw me put branches aside. Since this last one, I can't place the branches on there by hand to get a good even spacing, I put some good branches aside. And the last one needs to be turned over, and then the bunch needs to be turned over. And so that it's clamped in 2 clamps, I put it in that first one that was only partially closed. And then I grab it with this hand and use this hand to separate the last branch from the very first branch. Oh, that's the other way around. The first branch from the very last branch. Tuck this up under here into the last unclosed clamp. And another flip. Okay, and we can't find the clamp underneath all these greens again, so we need to locate that with our hands. Okay, and today I'm not finding it. Okay, yeah, there's one. Okay, and close that one. Oh, that was the first one. That's why I couldn't find it. I need to close that first one all the way, which I just did. And now the one that's not clamped at all. Okay, and I can make sure that that's fanned across there a little bit, and that we don't catch the back of the first bunch. Okay, close that. And okay, so it was a 24-inch frame, and as you can see, we've got a wreath much bigger than that. We've got, depending on who measures it, if you get the widest tip to the widest tip, we've got a 46-inch wreath. Okay, and then to fill it out, we're doing 3 bows. I put the second 2 with the center loop just above the first, with about 3 inches between on smaller wreaths, sometimes facing cones. I can give them a flip and put them where the clamps are on the ring. And the 3 bow method actually work pretty good with the long tails to fill out a big wall in a large space. I think the first few years I did cones and berries, but from a distance, the berries went unseen. I think I then went to poinsettias, silk or plastic silk. But in the end, the just plain simple green of the branches, evergreen, and the 3 bows has worked out good. Okay, and unfortunately there's not a lot of time to stop and admire your work. They are made, decorated, and out the door. But sometime, maybe about the 22nd, I will find one and hang it on my door.